This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust you'll consider this like your vitamin or supplement for your heart and mind. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review, and spread the word along to your friends and neighbors. Today I want to talk about the leader and courage. Now, at first blush, that may seem to you to be kind of an odd characteristic for a leader. But I want to remind you that I don't know that there would be too many more attributes that are much more needed today, that are needed more today than a leader to be truly a courageous person. Just to make sure that we all understand what we're talking about, let's go to something really basic for a moment. Let's look at the dictionary definition. I'll paraphrase it a little bit about the word courage. It's the quality of mind or spirit that enables a person to face danger and pain without fear. Now, one of the difficulties that I may have, or a slight disagreement with the dictionary definition of courage, is the fact that it says without fear. Oftentimes, the courageous person is not the person without fear. Oftentimes, the person who has no fear is somebody who has some intellectual difficulties. But rather, a courageous person is one who sees the fear, faces the fear, yes, even feels the fear, but acts according to principles anyway. And then another thing that I think we need to clear up is that courage is not a wisdom attribute, meaning that you have to live a long time and have to have gone through a lot of things in order to have a courage. I also want to clarify that in no way do I think that courage is an intellectual quality that you are either born with, you have, or you don't have. I'm not even sure that it can be learned in this way, this part of that. I don't think there's a courage school that you can go to. I don't think there's a seminar on Courage 101 or how to screw up your courage or how to strengthen your courage. I'm going to tell you in a moment how I believe that courage is developed in our lives. So if you're feeling today that you're not an overly courageous person, that you do have fear, that perhaps even today you are in somewhat of a fearful leadership dilemma and you're trying to figure out your way out of it, I'm going to ask you to stop and pray or think and reflect for a moment. Should you take the right way, the way that you believe that you should conduct yourself, how will you be able to exercise courage? So, first of all, in the day and age we live in, it would seem to me that courage is going to be indispensable for the leader. The landscape in whatever area you lead, including your family, if you're a not-for-profit or a church, the landscape is changing drastically. The culture is changing. Business is changing. I mean, there's not anything that's untouched, really. And so if you're going to lead be a courageous leader, how is that going to look in your leadership portfolio? The very first thing that distinguishes a courageous leader is they don't act in the moment, they don't act solely on emotion, they don't act on what is the most expedient course of action to take at the moment. They lead by principles. The best leaders are principle direct leaders. That means I have to have principles even if it applies to my family and friends. I don't have a set of rules for people I really like and I'm related to, and then another set of rules and standards for strangers. I have to lead by principles. Therefore, it really behooves you, leader, to discover rather quickly what you really believe in. What are your principles? What are the principles of the organization where you serve? And so that when difficult and tough decisions have to be made, and someone asks you, why did you do this? What was this all about? Why didn't you make another decision? You will have a teaching opportunity, a learning laboratory, if you will, in which you can share to others the fact that you are a disciple of and a believer in principle-centered leadership. Not emotions, not even what I think, not even, in fact, at times what my own personal preferences would have been. But if there is a principle involved, we must follow the principle. What I've just described to you in the last 45 minutes sounds easy wherever you're listening to this and as I'm saying it to you, but I can tell you from firsthand experience, to live by principles is to invite conflict, and it's going to take courage. People are going to challenge you. They're not going to like it, and there are going to be times when you don't like it. But we will never get anywhere if we try to lead in the moment or by how we happen to feel or a whim. We have to be principle-centered leaders. And one way that you will begin to develop your courage muscles is when you stand and live by principles. I think another way that courage is displayed in the leader is you're going to have to take risks. Now, I'm not just for skydiving without parachutes or walking on a tightrope without a safety net. I'm not talking about foolhardy or foolish, dangerous risks. But life is risky. Getting out of bed this morning, you took a risk. We have no idea what today or tomorrow or the day after holds for us. Living is to take a risk. To be a leader, if you are averse to risk, you are going to have a very difficult time when it comes to leading. You're going to take risks. Here's what I want you to do as you're listening to Dr. Ron's words of wisdom today. What is something you know you need to act on? What is something that you know needs to be changed? What is the telephone call you know you need to make? What is the crucial and difficult conversation that you know in your heart you need to have? What is the difficult proposal you need to write? Whether it's with your boss, an employee, a family member, or a friend, and you're afraid because you don't know how it's going to turn out. What's the new project that could propel you and your organization forward, but you're frightened of taking the risk, going public, and making those declarations? Here's what I'd like you to meditate on the rest of the day. What one thing do you know, and it's already come to your mind, that you know you've been putting off, but you desperately need to do? You need to take the risk. We have to have leaders who are willing to take a risk. And if it doesn't work out, as the leader, you have to stand up and you have to own it and you have to apologize and you have to make it right. Another way that the leadership can show their courage is by being upfront and candid. Don't be sneaky. Don't be duplicitous. Don't always be trying to work through other people and manipulate and massage around the edges. I have found leaders like that in my life. And though for a season they may seem quite successful, I can tell you that kind of a leader has a very short shelf life. The leaders who are courageous and are upfront, and they call it as it is, they don't deny reality, and they're candid. And they're even candid about their own mistakes and anything they have been a part of that hasn't gone the way it should have, they own it. So if you want to start developing your courage muscle, leader, one of the things is be truthful, be a truth speaker, be upfront, don't sugarcoat it, and be candid. Another way that you can develop your courage muscle is if you don't know something, admit it. The worst thing one of the worst things leaders do is they try to fake it. When asked a question in public, because I'm the leader, their thoughts are, I should probably know the answer to everything that everyone's going to ask me. And if you don't know, the people know you don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know that. I don't know everything. I'll ask my team. I'll research it. I'll find the answer, and I'll get back to you. That It takes courage at times to admit, as the leader, I just don't know. But I will do my best to find out for you. How is this courage developed? I think it's developed through doing follow-through, execution. The lack of execution is the bane for most organizations. Most organizations have lovely mission statements and vision statements. Many people have written down goals and things that they are aspiring to and seeking to achieve. That isn't as big a problem as the fact that no one will follow. I shouldn't say no one. Very many people refuse to follow through and execute the plan. You develop your courage muscles because you follow through. You work your way through it. You make those mid-course corrections. Another way that your courage muscles are going to get developed as a leader, there will be times when you have to bear bad news. I remember a time that I had to tell a large group of people, several hundred, about something terrible that happened. I wished a hole would have opened up and swallowed me. I did not want to do it. It caused me great angst. But as the leader, I had to do it. I had to be candid. I had to be upfront. And I knew it would be disappointing to people, and I knew it was bad news. But here's the good thing. Oftentimes, it's the fear leading up to it that's worse than the actual event. Because once it was announced, once the news got through the group, you do get some affirmation and appreciation from the people that they really appreciate you being mature. Everyone can kind of put themselves in your place, and they would not want to trade places with you. And they appreciate the fact that you're upfront, you were candid, and even when you had to bear bad news, you did it gracefully. You see, where you stand where you are when you're comfortable does not go into making you a great leader. It's where you stand in the time of difficulty, upheaval, and crisis that your courage muscles will be developed and you will become a courageous leader. Another way that you can develop your courage muscle is facing your critics and listen openly to what they have to say. They may at times be some of your best friends, though they feel quite the opposite. They are in a position where they'll tell you things that perhaps your family and friends may be aware of but will never tell you. Oftentimes you will learn more from a critic. Now I know that this is much easier said than done, but you owe it to yourself to stretch and to be better by facing your critics. Don't try to defend yourself. Don't try to out-talk them. Don't try to refute everything they say. Initially, let them talk. Let them have the floor if it's a private meeting. Listen to what they are saying and at least acknowledge if in fact there is a kernel of truth in something that they said. Own it, change it, and that is a courageous act, is to listen to our critics. Don't say, I'm the boss and I don't have to listen to your nonsense. You can simply say, what teaching moment will I discover today? And if you know who you are, and I'm talking more in the spiritual realm, if you know who you are, then you can listen because other people don't get to define you. So face your critics. Let me give you one last thing here on how to develop the courage muscle. And that's just stand in front of the mirror and take a good long look at yourself. I'm not so much thinking about the physical mirror that's perhaps in the bathroom or bedroom in your home. I'm talking about holding a mirror up to your character, to your actions, to your attitudes, looking at how you conduct yourself, how you talk to others, how you treat others. One of the most courageous things you can do, leader, is rather than trying to always correct everyone else, change everyone else, look inward and see what in your life needs to be corrected. What in your life can you change? You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom. Words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust that you will consider this like your vitamin and supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom? Especially on iTunes, would you leave a rating and a brief written review? It'll enable others to be able to find this podcast. And then I want to say to you today, my listener, leader, you are doing better than you think you are. You are making a difference. You really, really are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, have a great and blessed day.